Canadian taxpayers dished out enormous amounts of money to fund the international vanity project of a scandal-plagued member of Justin Trudeau's inner circle. Yes, I'm talking about former Finance Minister Bill Morneau. And the bill for his ego trip? Way more than previously reported. Worse still, Morneau is from one of Canada's richest families. I've got a plan to shame him into paying for his own ego trip, but I'm going to need your help to do it. So stay with me as I take you through exclusive documents today and as I explain our public pressure campaign at paythemoneyback.ca. Do you remember former Finance Minister Bill Morneau? I mean, how could you forget that guy? His ethics left so much to be desired while he was in office, and that theme, as we'll find out, is continuously played out since he resigned in disgrace, a victim of his own sense of entitlement. And Morneau's never had any real consequences for his ethics violations, including the one you didn't know about, but I'll tell you about today. But first, let's go back to 2017, when Morneau forgot to declare his French villa in his ethics disclosure. He was slapped with a measly $200 fine, measly because he's from a very wealthy family, the one behind the multi-million-dollar company formerly known as Morneau Chappelle. But Morneau is also married into the enormously wealthy McCain family. Yes, he married the crispy fry heiress. Moneybags Morneau is also His Royal Highness Mr. Lady Curly Fries the First. Anyway, Morneau resigned his position in Justin Trudeau's cabinet in disgrace after he was sucked into the black hole of the We organization scandal. You see, it wasn't just Trudeau's family getting freebies and trips and contracts from his friends, the Kielburger brothers, while the Kielburgers were getting multi-million-dollar contracts, sole-sourced, from the Canadian government to administer multi-million-dollar programs.
What is the total dollar value of all of the fees and expenses, both cash and in kind, that you have paid to you or any of your organizations have paid to members of the Trudeau family?
So Margaret Trudeau was $180,000 she received for a total of 28 events. Alexander Trudeau was $36,000 he received for a total of 8 events. Sophie Trudeau was $1,500 for an event prior to her husband becoming the Prime Minister, and all that has been previously provided to you, sir, in the Phoenix Committee.
Oh yeah, Bill Morneau was doing the exact same thing, getting freebies. Let's read it though from Politico. Morneau's recent high-profile troubles are centered on his failure to recuse himself from a cabinet decision awarding a no-bid contract to We Charity to administer a $900 million student grant program as part of the Trudeau government's COVID-19 response. He admitted last month to repaying the charity more than $41,000 for costs incurred during a 2017 trip to Ecuador with his family just before testifying in front of a parliamentary committee. Isn't that convenient? There's more. Morneau's wife and daughter, who later went on to work for the charity, separately traveled with We to Kenya. He disclosed to the House of Commons Finance Committee that his wife made 2 $50,000 donations to the charity, including one in June. Morneau believes that he's entitled to be in charge of things, and he also believes he's entitled to get your help, monetary or otherwise, to end up in charge of things. So Morneau decided to run after his resignation to become the Secretary General of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, headed in Paris. And it was previously reported that the Canadian government spent $11,000 on Bill Morneau's private citizen attempts to be in charge of something, anything, which is couch cushion money for a guy like Moneybags Morneau. And the bill, it's way more than the $11,000 reported. I don't even have the full tally yet. Let me show you the documents we obtained exclusively through access to information filings and your donations to rebelinvestigates.com. And I will publish these documents in full at paythemoneyback.com. And you can sign a petition to Global Affairs, the ministry that wasted all this money and coordinated Morneau's campaign and took staff off of real work to lobby for Morneau when they were supposed to be working for Canadians at that same website, paythemoneyback.com. Okay, let's get into these documents though, because they're damning. Page 4, $100,000 for travel. Again, that seems way more than the $11,000 previously reported. There was a whole team put together for Morneau that Canadians paid for. Look at this. Resources. Government of Canada has mobilized a team at HQ and our OECD mission in Paris to support the campaign, including for outreach in Ottawa and Paris. The department has also engaged its networks of heads of missions in other OECD capitals to support Mr. Morneau, including for any local travel and possibly hospitality, depending again on local conditions. Further to discussions about the support that will be provided to advance the government's official sponsorship of Mr. Morneau for the position, the Privy Council office has confirmed the approval of the proposed strategic plan and associated costs, which include the reimbursement of travel costs of up to $98,000 for the necessary outreach of the principal with OECD ambassadors in Paris. $100,000 here, guys, not $11,000. Bureaucrats also developed pamphlets for Morneau, which are at the end of this document package if you're interested. Look at this. It's the Morneau marketing material. He led Canada's COVID-19 economic response plan. Oh, did he? He's a speaker with Shaping Global Growth, World Economic Forum 2020. His key areas of focus, a global economic recovery that works for everyone, but especially himself, building green and resilient economies, oh yeah, addressing the challenges of a digitized world, providing proven leadership to achieve better outcomes, that's awful vague, advancing gender equality, sounds awful. Anyway, there is a bunch of petty BS included in this big spend for one of Canada's wealthiest men on his retirement vanity project after disgracing himself by taking other freebies from the Kielburgers. On page 1, we can see we rented flags for Morneau. Page 2 and 3, $6,000 in costs for his Paris campaign events over the course of just 5 days. Page 5, we paid €68 to buy Morneau OECD placemats. I'm surprised it wasn't OECD socks. Page 6, we paid €607 for his brochures. Page 87, 88, it's in French, but they make it clear the placemats and brochures are a rush order. So they got the printer to start working on them before they even got the quote or contract in place, which is sort of almost exactly what they did with the WE scandal, isn't it? On page 90, the bureaucrats are talking about spending $2,400 to make a campaign video for Morneau. More if they didn't have bureaucrats to do the work in-house. On page 92, bureaucrats wrote up a communications plan for Morneau's campaign, including plans for dealing with access to information filings. Look at this. As you know, PEP is leading Morneau's OECD Secretary General campaign. We are now preparing an action memo to the Minister of International Affairs for approval of the OECD campaign, which will include a communications plan, public, parliamentary, key interlocutors, and ATIPS questions. These are bureaucrats doing this all at our expense, scheming for a billionaire and scheming a plan in writing to block me from finding out how much money they spent on the campaign, but not being sharp enough to keep the plotting off the record so I don't find it like I just did here. Anyway, this is way more than $11,000, the National Post reported. Morneau should pay for his own failed ego projects. He's richer than rich. He wanted this job. He can pay for the application and audition process. If you agree with me, please sign our petition at paythemoneyback.com. And if we get enough signatures, we'll hand deliver it to Global Affairs, the government agency that let Morneau use bureaucrats, staff, and government resources for his very long, failed job interview. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. Bill Morneau is from one of the wealthiest families in this entire country. And I don't think struggling Canadian taxpayers should be footing the bill for the vanity project he pursued after he was forced to resign from cabinet in disgrace. If you agree with me that Bill Morneau should pay for his own OECD campaign, please go to paythemoneyback.com.